NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with their proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email at contact@netsparker.com. LogRhythm's Netmon Freemium delivers real-time network visibility to quickly identify emerging threats in your IT environment. Netmon Freemium is a free commercial-grade network forensics and traffic analytics solution. You can use Netmon Freemium's powerful capabilities to search against all observed network traffic, identify abnormal traffic patterns and application usage, and quickly analyze full packet captures. Take the first step towards real-time network visibility. Visit logRhythm.com/freemium to learn more and download it today. IT Pro TV, an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. Stream over 2,000 hours of up-to-date, high-quality video content live and on demand. Premium annual memberships include all video content as well as access to virtual labs and the Q&A forums. You'd pay $85.70 a month or $857 per year, but we have a special offer for our listeners. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the lifetime of your active subscription, visit itpro.tv/securityweekly and use the discount code SW30. Welcome back, everyone, to Paul's Security Weekly. This is our security news for this week. Before we get into it, come check out Wild West Hackin' Fest. Wild West Hackin' Fest is put on by Black Hills Information Security for everyone interested in information security. Join us on October 27th and 28th for hands-on hardware hacking workshops and talks by myself, Larry Pesce, Joff Thayer, and more.
And others.
WildWestHackinFest.com, HACKINFest.com.
Which was, oh, you want to hear a good one? So I get this email from Sans yesterday from Lisa, our lovely Lisa.
Of course.
And she says, so.
We love Lisa.
We do.
We have a request. We'd like you to go teach an on-site for 617 in Baltimore. I'm like, oh, hey, I'm busy that week at work. Darn. And an hour later, she says, hey, I've got this request. We'd like you to teach it on-site for 617 in October. This overlapping with Sans Wild West Hackin' Fest in Oahu. I'm like, in Hawaii.
Sophie's choice. Oh, that's tough. That's tough.
Like, is the customer flexible on dates?
Yeah.
Can you fly me from pain? Right. I just felt that. Oh.
Yeah. How fast can you fly me from South Dakota to Hawaii?
No, it's the other way around. How can you get me from Hawaii to South Dakota, which is never.
Yeah. There's no.
It's gonna. You need like a week in between.
No good way to get
from Hawaii to South Dakota.
Yeah, that's just.
Like you're staying overnight somewhere. Get that
twice.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, So she's finding out how flexible the customer is.
That's awesome.
My wife wasn't happy.
By the way, I just
happy.
want to say again how much we love Lisa. She was so supportive of me.
She's awesome
this year, and just the whole process. So she's great.
Speaking of which, Joff, did you see the email from that went out to do your announcement?
Yes,
yeah,
I did.
And the one from John. Joff is so awesome. We hired him.
And
immediately following.
Yes,
Joff is so awesome. We tried to hire him, but John beat us to it. Those were not planned.
Nice.
Those were not planned.
That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
That was I fell off my chair laughing when I saw that. So that was really cool.
I had stories that went in order, but not numerical as to how I had them in the show notes. Hold on. So it's going to take me a minute. It's kind of like an Nginx when you have to code for
numbers
not having
numbers are hard.
Multiple conditional statements.
Numbers are hard, so you set a variable to 1 and you compare the two variables.
Okay, so listeners, this is the part of the show where normally a SANS instructor would pause and look very thoughtful. But Paul is going to say,
No, I'm going to say number 10. GhostHook attack bypasses Windows 10. This is neat. There's no patch.
Wait. Bypasses Windows 10 patch guard.
Patch guard. Thank you. Yep.
This is the dear SANS instructors. This is the part of the show where you realize that Paul was drunk.
I know. I don't know how you guys teach for that long without drinking. Oh, wait. Never mind.
You think that's
Dirty little secret.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't think that's coffee in the cup.
Yeah. Okay, so the bypass, which has been nicknamed GhostHook, is a post-exploitation attack and requires an attacker already be present on a compromised machine and running code in the kernel, assuming administrator privileges, I would assume, if you're running code in the kernel.
Right.
As a result, Microsoft said it will not patch the issue, but may address it in a future version of Windows, according to CyberArk, whose labs team, CyberArk Labs, who are awesome ninjas. We've had them on the show before. So, Microsoft, at first, doesn't issue a comment. Then, I don't know where this, a threat post. Then they say, okay, with threat post, we'll talk to you. Then Microsoft says, this technique requires that an attacker has already fully compromised the target system. We encourage our customers to practice good computing habits online, whatever the F that means, including exercising caution when clicking links to web pages, says the producer of the operating system, opening unknown files, or accepting file transfers.
Why do I think of that sooner? It's so obvious in hindsight.
Like, we gave you the car. I mean, you should know not to go over the speed limit, wear your seatbelt all the time, and not drive recklessly.
It's freaking genius.
Now,
We're out of jobs now. Right? We have no more jobs.
I get the response was lame, but I want to ask the question. It requires the attacker, the patch guard thing this bypass for patch guard requires that this attacker is already on the system running code in the kernel.
Correct.
So
why do you need to bypass patch guard?
Well, I mean, what's the additional risk?
Right.
If you've already compromised the system, what else is it getting me as an attacker?
Bypassing patch guard. That's as much as I know.
But haven't you already...
And
this story to me isn't about the attack. It's more about Microsoft's response.
Sure.
So my thing to Microsoft is it would be better if Microsoft just didn't respond at all. I mean, haven't you learned that from Apple yet? Like, it's much better. But rather than issue a lame response, just say nothing.
The only other thing I can think of as Microsoft's response might be ... and question mark. Like the question I just asked. Like, and you already have to compromise the system.
There you go. There you go, Larry. It's like plausible deniability. They need to they need to respond with ... question mark.
And how does So I'm confused. I'm
not sure what. To be honest with you, I'm not. I was just caught up in Microsoft's response, but not so much in what bypassing patch guard. Does anyone know what bypassing patch guard?
But I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, that maybe Microsoft's response is actually legitimate.
Well, the article says the introduction of patch guard and device guard. Very few 64-bit Windows rootkits have been observed.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's a rootkit type of. Okay.
So maybe there are. Yeah, right. I'm not close enough. We're able to execute code in kernel and go unnoticed by any security feature Microsoft produces. So maybe it's about being stealthy. Is what the article is referencing.
But again, the way I read this, if I can already execute code in the kernel, then what?
I agree.
There's your rootkit. I mean, it's game over.
Right.
So and.
Maybe someone please weigh in on this that knows more than we do. But maybe if you are running code in the kernel, there are certain restrictions that maybe log your activity that can basically allow defenders to find you.
For those of
this is bypass.
Or is it those of you who are yelling at your phone or your media playing device on the train, car, airplane?
Please write in.
psw@securityweekly.com. And by the way, your email client will put that in spool it until you actually can connect to a network later. So please.
Is it a persistence thing? Like you're in the kernel, but you can't root the kernel. You can't change the kernel. Is that it?
Could be. Well, we're gonna find. Believe me,
right,
our listeners
people
email
leap into keyboards now
on all kinds of issues. All kinds of issues, Eric, which I'm very thankful for, because we just launched a new website this week, and I want to personally thank listeners who emailed me and pointed out issues with our website. Some of those folks were internal. some of those folks were external just listeners and follow us on social media and were like, hey, I saw this was in security things, non-security things,
Sure.
typos, whatever.
Yep.
Everyone participated and sent me feedback because I was actually playing the role of the CEO of the company, as well as the webmaster, as well as the sysadmin in this case.
And then you get those emails from those guys that are like, why am I last in the list and not
And I was
second?
like, no, you're actually first.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I caught it at the time where I was actually last because it wraps around. And I mean, that guy. I mean, not me, that guy.
The slider at the bottom that lists all of the hosts is on an 8-second delay.
Yeah.
And so you spend probably around 8 seconds like looking at all the stuff at the top, and by the time you scroll down,
Paul's the first one
it says
listed.
Larry, but by the time you scroll down, like I'm the second in the list, and it says Paul, and Larry's like, I'm last. I'm like, no, you're first, but because
And then
I didn't want to put myself first.
And you explain it, I'm like, I'm an idiot.
I'm like, it's the one time where being second is actually being first. I guess. I didn't plan it that way either. I was just.
Well, I mean, that guy that reported it, I mean, he was an idiot, clearly an idiot. It
was really funny. I was laughing at that.
I'm really glad you're laughing.
There was some really weird things
because I felt really bad about asking you about that. I'm like, why am I last? I'm like,
there was weird things. Like,
co-founder of the show, and like, I've got to maybe invoke a little founder privilege here because like really? And you're like,
and I'm like, dude, you were first.
You're actually first. I'm like, oh shit, I'm an idiot.
But there was weird
just when
caching.
you're gonna dog him.
We had caching issues, which were really weird, which I have to investigate still. There was a weird instance where the builder toolbar when you're WordPress admin and you're logged into the admin dashboard, and then you say like visit my site or view this page, and it flips you to what the page looks like. And along the top, there's that bar. Yep. Another user had my login credentials in a bar. They had the bar, and it was my login credentials.
Wow.
Yeah. So I really freaked out, like modified header.php and like said, don't ever show the builder toolbar to anyone ever. Went into every user account and said, don't ever show this to anyone ever. Went into the style sheet and like removed it. Like there was basically 3 different ways to remove it. I implemented all of them. I have to go back and why did that happen? I don't know why that happened. I couldn't find any documented vulnerabilities that I knew of or could find that were associated with that.
Time to stand up a dev and replicate.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty
we
scary.
all need to change our password?
Well, no, because it wouldn't really matter if the toolbar was there, and it means they're already logged in. There's basically a cookie stealing. What I think is a cookie. I don't know how that happened.
Cookie reassignment?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was really strange.
Oh, you don't have this cookie? Here it is again.
Really strange. So we'll do some segments on my experiences with that. A lot of it's interesting if you look at like straight up web server hardening to protect WordPress. Mm-hmm. Some of it works. A lot more of it just breaks stuff horribly, and you can't implement it. So I still have a little bit of research to do there as well. Yep. Nginx has this really cool thing, and I want to experiment with more. It's called internal. So you can say, yeah, like this exists, but it's only accessible internally. So external resources can't access it, but it's still there, and the web server can access it. It's how we lock down some of our MediaWiki things, because a lot of stuff just needs to be accessed internally. I like that feature a lot. I think that can go a long way for security, at least on the web server front. Nice. Of course, being up to date on WordPress and all your plugins and really any web application is probably your best defense. WP Scan is kind of very heavy on the false positive side. Both Bo Bullock and I ran WP Scan against it, and most of it was like, yeah, dude, like we're not even like I've never even heard of that plugin, let alone running it on my site. And it says we're vulnerable to it. So.
And I was just about to mention that, Paul. I've noticed with WP Scan every time that I've used it, only a very small minority of what it comes up with is actually useful. It's heavy, Paul.
You should get the WP Scan guys back on the show. Ryan Dewhurst.
That would be good.
Yeah,
that would be good.
I actually talked to them not too long ago.
Yeah, and that was just some of my observations. I would love to see someone come up with some tools or update tools to be a little better at the WordPress scanning. I know I tested that other one the other week. I got to run that against the new site as well. Yep. I just overall haven't really been impressed.
Yep. That said,
because I know the internals of our website, and I know like where the dark, dusty corners are, and I know no tool that I've ever run against our website gets those dusty corners.
Yep. That said, new in Guardian's website running on WordPress. Like what self-respecting security company would run WordPress.
Right.
But yeah,
You do the copy thing, right? You copy yours out.
We run WordPress. We do a static content export, and that export is SCP'd, so there's no dynamic content.
Old school. That's an old school solution.
Absolutely.
Right there.
Yeah, we actually use a WordPress plugin
to do that. Yeah.
And the only folks that can access the actual WordPress site, it's IP restricted type deal, so you can only get there from certain hosts.
And what plugin is that again? Every time you mention it, people email us.
It's the. I'll find it. I will find it momentarily. And
I think we almost like the technologies that we run, especially ones we have in common. We should almost have a wiki page for them where we're just putting up like our notes that we talk about on the show. Because so many people ask.
Simply static.
Simply static.
As I'm typing WordPress export static. Simply static. That's it.
Paul, that would be an excellent idea, by the way, what you just come up with. Capture that.
Yeah.
A wiki for that would be awesome.
Okay. I will make it so. 2 people were arrested for Microsoft network intrusion over a 3-month period earlier this year. The 2 men reportedly made repeated efforts to hack Microsoft's network or into Microsoft's network.
Which story is this?
16. Microsoft notes no customer data was taken in the incident. It's not clear whether the group was able to access other information. The big question, so I got a lot of questions about this.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any insights other than what I just read. How did they do it is the big question. The bigger question is, how would you do it without getting caught? Mm-hmm. A personal question, do you in a wizard robe?
I put on my wizard robe and hat.
Completely unrelated to the story. Second part of the personal question is, how just in fact would you hack Microsoft getting caught or not?
Statute of limitations has not expired.
Certainly a large attack surface with Microsoft. Very interesting how these 2 individuals were caught. It makes you wonder, like, were they just not very skilled and got caught? And what do the really skilled people, like, what footholds do they have into arguably the largest software company in the world?
Yep. As I'm thinking about it, I'm asking myself and answering my own question at the same time. And you sort of just said that. I'm like, what was the motivation for wanting to attack Microsoft?
That's a good question too. I like that question.
And I'm thinking about that as I'm asking my question in my head, and I'm saying to implant your own code into the code base for Windows.
There's a lot of great attack vectors.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not even implant your own code. The number one motivation in my head would be to get the source code.
Well, that's what happened before, right?
Yeah.
I mean, years ago.
They did leak
10 years ago, it was employee VPN credentials, static username and password.
Yep.
They stole the Windows NT source code. That's the obvious, I agree, Jeff.
Yep. And then some guy needed to find a place to store all of it.
Yeah, and our friend got in trouble for that.
Right.
Yeah, Will. Yeah.
And that was a different one. But then no, that wasn't Microsoft. That was something else, wasn't it? That was like Kevin Mitnick was looking for places to store source code.
Mitnick was. But so also what's interesting is, I think one of the crown jewels of attacking and owning the internet is owning the Windows Microsoft update servers.
Yep.
And what you wonder what levels of detection, prevention, and response they have with that stuff. How many layers deep does that go? Probably pretty deep. Now, that's obviously one of the crown jewels. When you talk about such a large attack surface, you want to gain a foothold somewhere that's maybe not going to be noticed and somewhere like on the outskirts, right? And then kind of slowly work your way in. And we've seen large companies lose some of that ground on the outskirts. Like Facebook had an issue where they owned, some specific services, some specific function that it's so far away from the beginning. Now, what I also find interesting is we advise our customers and clients and people we talk to say, don't let an attacker get a foothold, because once they have a foothold,
game over.
Yeah, they're going to get in. But we've seen larger software companies, I think, largely be somewhat resilient because there is such a large attack surface. Inevitably, something on the outskirts, and it's all about detection at that point.
And we've talked. I hate to be that guy that's going to bring up Target. It is very much about your B2B connections as well.
Yes,
because that potentially is an inroad and a foothold.
You put on that green safety vest, man. You can walk anywhere with it.
Yellow safety vest.
Yellow safety vest.
Yep. No, that's a very significant point, though, because the update service cannot be just one centralized service. It is not just one centralized service, as we're all aware. And so, they've got a network of stuff going on there that's distributing the content. And I think that would be horrendous if it ever happened, but that is certainly a huge target.
Microsoft says that the Fireball threat is overblown. Let's just stick with Microsoft for this train of stories. Although we had a brief departure into our WordPress security, but so that's really what it boils down to. Is there's some malware out there? It's called Fireball. It's been out since 2015. It's consistently bundled with programs users are downloading and looking for apps, media, pirated games
stuff.
Yeah, blah blah blah. Microsoft says the threat is overblown. However, it used, so Microsoft said the malware arrives in clean programs, which are used as host processes to load malware and evade detection by security software, but Microsoft still says it's overblown. Okay, whatever. The other one, hold on, I'll find it.
That's what she said.
Yeah, so the upcoming Windows 10 version that's out there may have Emmet built in. Someone did some process analysis. Yeah, well, they basically were looked like you were talking about
reverse analysis.
Reverse analysis,
right. Because reverse engineering is illegal.
Yeah. Yes, they pseudo reverse engineered. I guess
they compatibility engineered.
Yes.
I took your software and I did some compatibility engineering and made it compatible with Metasploit.
Right. So they reverse engineered it and basically found out that Emmet was built in. They recognized some of the function calls for Emmet, right? So Microsoft's response was, and this, I forget where this article came from.
Get off my code.
It says they tried to reach Microsoft. They reached out to the two Microsoft researchers. One of them hasn't responded, and the other one denied commenting. See? It's better not to respond.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, wasn't Emmet end of life as of next year? Didn't they already announce that?
No,
they pretty much. They pretty much said they were going to build it into the operating system.
But it becomes the operating system.
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
So it's not going to be Emmet anymore.
You won't have it for Windows 7, but you'll have it for Windows 10. All right.
Windows 10 is just going to bake it in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was glad because I understood that Emmet was, quote unquote, air quotes here, end of life, but you couldn't throw that away.
No,
I mean, it was a decent piece of technology. So the decision to bake it in, I think,
Cisco
is the right
throwing
decision.
away their endpoint security product. No, that shit just got rolled into ice.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with Emmet, though, when you bake it in, what are your default settings?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Right? You bake it in, but turn everything off and leave it up to the user to turn everything on.
But
because when Microsoft turns shit on that block stuff, it has potential to break shit.
Yep.
Well, it harkens back to the NX bit and the depth protection.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of thing, decade ago, right? It was like you bake it in, data execution prevention, but what are the default settings?
Right.
Yep.
And the default settings tend to be protect what is conservative and safe and leave the other thing to the users. And I'm guessing that's going to be the same approach here.
Users make really great decisions about security. All the time.
Or should I say system administrators, right? But
those two, they're users.
Then you've got a huge educational lift on your hands, and how many people are going to – it's the usual argument, right? How many people are going to take on the pain?
Larry, let's talk about Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Love this story.
So this is actually kind of interesting. And when I told my wife about that, she said, "Well, I guess I know who someone's going to be volunteering at your daughter's Girl Scout troop for a little bit." But the Girl Scouts from the Brownies on up have announced that they are going to be offering 18 different cybersecurity badges in cooperation with. There's a computer security company that is also going to be offering it.
Palo Alto.
Palo Alto. Yep. So Palo Alto and the Girl Scouts have they've put together 18
strategic partnership.
Yeah, 18 different cybersecurity badges for
awesome.
for the Girl Scouts. So I suspect I'll be doing some volunteering for the Girl Scout troop my daughter's a part of to get them all 18 of their badges.
That's great.
So they'll be there.
That is friggin' awesome, right there.
So they're starting in 2018 for these badges, and it's really great. I think that whatever you think about Girl Scouts and the scouting organization, whatever, I think they really help start at a really young age, starting to teach them some really great life skills.
Yeah.
Whether it be camping or identifying bugs and knowing how to do first aid and being nice to people.
The stuff that school doesn't teach you, oddly enough.
Yeah, which is weird.
We all had to go to school.
and moving into the 21st century, into
Right.
the 21st century, having these girls have some of this knowledge about how to be safe online is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
One would think that the Boy Scouts are probably considering or implementing, probably doing the same thing. I think it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about lately. I've been having some conversations with Doug White about this. I don't want to share anything on air because it's not official yet, but I am actively looking for ways to be able to bring technology and security knowledge to the younger folks in the community.
Sure. Yep.
My kind of like initial just like happened to be in the situation kind of things. I'm like really excited about their reaction to exposure to technology. And then on the flip side, I'm like, the consistent message I hear from students of all grade levels, right? Elementary school, junior high, high school, even some college. And they're like, they don't teach us that stuff in school.
Right.
Yep.
And we were at like a school event, and we're in a facility that had a chalkboard. I was watching my younger ones draw on the chalkboard. One of the older kids was a son of the people who were running the event, and he started drawing math problems on the chalkboard with my younger kids and trying to quiz them. So I drew on the chalkboard, and I drew a computer programming little challenge. And he kind of like looked at it, looked at me, he's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Computer programming language." I'm like, let me explain it to him. I'm like, "What do you think the value is now?" And he was like starting to get.
Sure.
They pick up on it instantly at that age.
Yes.
And then he was so polite. He was like, "Thank you so much." He was like, "That was really cool." I'm like,
Dude.
why don't they teach this stuff to kids?
Perfect age.
Count me in.
Yeah. Oh, you're already on the list, believe me. I haven't even asked you. I'm already volunteering you, so don't worry about it. Yeah. I'll fill you in after the show.
The thing that came up on my Facebook remembrances the other day was 2 years ago at the end of first grade. Last week of school, we're sitting down at breakfast, and everybody else is still asleep, and the oldest and I are up getting ready for school, and she was disappointed that she was going to be done with school for the summer, and she wasn't going to get to do math.
Right.
Like, what kid says, "I'm sad, I'm not going to get to do math"? I'm like, well, let's do some math.
Sure.
And we can do math all summer if you'd like, and how about I teach you some math? She's
Right.
like, great, Daddy, let's do some math. I'm like, great. All right, so let's, base 10, right? We have 10 fingers, 10 toes. We count by tens. I'm like, what about base 2? What if you only had one? I'm like, you have a 0 and a 1. She's like, that's weird, Daddy.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's computer math.
Right.
And I said, it's computer math.
Because they
So
teach nothing. It's all base 10. in school.
So we did that, and so we sat there at breakfast eating donuts, and next thing I'm like, shit, you got to get to the bus.
Yeah.
And she was doing binary, and she was doing binary math by the time we left breakfast.
That's
the time to learn.
Next morning, we sit down, and she says, Daddy, can we do more binary? And I said, no. She's like, oh. I'm like,
hexadecimal.
yep, exactly.
That's right.
Yep, absolutely. And like she got it, she grokked it, like over breakfast, like 45-minute time.
No, you just think that
by the
numbers.
way, your kid is not the only kid that's ever said that. My kid, my daughter, also 2 summers in a row now has said, "I'm so sad I can't do math in the summer." I'm like, yes, you can. And we started doing it, right?
Yep,
So
exactly.
that's
And
awesome.
like we went to Disney last year, and she's like, "Oh, Daddy, we just started doing multiplication." I'm like, "Yeah, great." We're sitting in the car on the way to Disney, waiting to park. I'm like, what's 12 times 12? Well, we haven't gotten to the 12 tables yet. I'm like, well, great. What's 1 times 12? You got to the 1 tables, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. What's 2 times 12? 24. Hey, all right. There we
Nice.
go. So you're just doing the
There
12
you
tables
go.
now.
Right.
Yep. She's amazing. Kids are amazing.
Yeah, I think it's important. And again, more to come on that, hopefully. So let's talk about the Honda plant
that was shut down by WannaCry.
WannaCry.
Oh, bad.
Eternal Blue.
I mean, we knew that healthcare was going to be affected by
yeah.
it, just by what we know about healthcare today and the state of the information systems, and a lot of that is, in fact, inside knowledge, and not something that they hide, something they, I think, really want help with, and maybe, something with a lot of us in the security community have trying to help.
Maybe complain about.
Yeah. But a car plant, this is a for-profit organization. Yeah. If you're a plant, a facility whose goal it is to manufacture cars, you would think, in the advancement of technology and business today, there would be some kind of risk.
Right.
And why wasn't that factored in? I'm at a loss as to why. Yeah.
Well, me thinking about this is that, even I see this personally, and it's outside of the realm of the environment of enterprise and stuff. But I still have some ham radio software that I run that, to me, the best software that I can use to perform some digital mode for radio to transfer information via radio runs on Windows XP.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And there is just going to be some stuff in some business process that they've stuck to that the last time this thing was developed and the way it will last certified to run on Windows XP. And that's frightening.
Yep.
And they're stuck to it. And they haven't found something that they can migrate to that will do what they need to, or have the value for them to migrate to, or to build their own custom app to migrate away from this. It's too expensive.
Right. It's interesting because there are large government organizations or sectors of the government that pay Microsoft to get the patches for XP.
Yes.
Right.
But what I always wonder, what issues does that cause with whatever software they're running on?
Right.
Yep. And now the question becomes of, how valid is the fact that some of these really bad issues that they've come out, that have happened, like WannaCry, Microsoft patched it and gave it to everybody for free.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of it is
move on their part.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, it was a good move on their part. I mean, that was a PR move, if nothing else. And
good point.
They produced the patches for anybody that's willing to pay for them for XP. I had retail customers that were paying special extended support to get patches for XP. It was for 2,000. I'm dating myself, but it was like $500,000 for the first year, and it doubled every year after that because they were trying to motivate them to get off of it.
Wow.
But for large organizations that have thousands of endpoints all over the country, it takes a while to replace that.
And Jeff, even that, like the migration may cost them $750,000, the migration may cost them $2 million on year 2. And, the $1 million price tag is half of the $2 million price tag to do the update.
Well, it was and for that money, they got patches when they became available, and if they needed to do phone support, it was something outrageous, like $50,000 a phone call.
God damn.
Wow.
That's an expensive.
One of the things I realized with Eternal Blue, and I think I fell for this, I think one of the reasons the car plant, like all the pen testers have been waiting for the universal service side since MS 08067.
Mm-hmm.
We had the MS 10061, I think, the printer, the Stuxnet vulnerability in the printer, but that was the last one. That was now with printers. So it was 9 years between server side exploits that were universal.
Yeah.
And a lot of us kind of fell into that, okay, it's all client side, And I fell for this too. Like, we have all these cases we ship around the world for our courses, and I don't worry about patching them too much because they run VMs for classes.
Yeah.
But who cares about a Chrome flaw or an Adobe flaw from running VMs? All of a sudden, I've got these Pelican cases moving around the world. So in March, when MS 17.010 came out, I'm going to patch all this stuff. I'm going to recall. I got one in Saudi Arabia. I got one in London. And I recall them all, and I'm patching them. But there's still ones floating around while they're still vulnerable. And I got through that. And, of course, it has issued more patches for more NSA hacking toolkit. Now I'm pulling them back in again. And I think maybe car plants were used to, it's a server-side thing, and it's Adobe thing, whatever. It's a client-side thing. It's not a server-side thing. And I think we got numbed, or people got numbed to the 9-year gap we've had in the universal server side.
They became complacent.
Yeah, I did too. I did too with the cases.
I think that's exactly right. People got lulled into complacency, and now we have an equivalent. We have an equivalent remote exploit. Arguably that is MS 08067 quality and. by God, it worked because the week after it dropped, I know I used it.
Oh, yeah. I was all over it.
It worked really well.
I installed Python on Windows for the first time, run those tools.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
And then to go the opposite, and you can install PowerShell on the Mac.
Oh, I know.
Why would you do such a thing?
Because it's awesome.
Right.
Define awesome, really.
Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, man.
That's like putting Bash on Windows.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Next time
I mean, I get that, but why would you put
wandering around the
PowerShell
streets
on
or
Mac?
Because you can. Because you can.
No, I can't.
Yes, you can.
You already have Bash.
Right
Why
now,
do you need
Larry.
PowerShell?
Right now. I'm going to do it right now.
No, you can't. You can't make me do it. You can't make me do it.
Can't you just run it in a contain? Never mind.
container.
There is no recourse for the 200 million compromise due to the RNC hack. Affected people may not have a clear way to get recourse because most laws about data security and data breaches don't contemplate the kinds of harms we'll see from what happened here, according to the quote. The sensitive information is kind of interesting. It's not your social security number, from what I can tell. It's your name, your birth date, your address, maybe your phone number. It's some of that type of metadata about you.
Yep.
It's not your SSN, your credit card number, or anything of that nature. Still.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of like, it's kind of like I'm on the fence on this one because I think on social media, with today's date, pretty easy to figure out someone's name, their birthday.
So
right?
I've got way too many questions about this, and I didn't. And I will admit, I didn't dig into this nearly enough as I should. Paul, which story was this of yours? I just
Number 9.
Number 9. I want to look at your. Okay, so I've got a link in there in the show notes.
You had a different link, yeah.
Yeah, from UpGuard, and they're quote inside the largest U.S. voter data leak, and the things that I got from going through this article was that this was the data leak that happened from the Amazon S3 storage that was unprotected that people downloaded. And my understanding was that this was data that the RNC used to determine basically how Paul Asadorian voted, and attempted to do targeted marketing against Paul Asadorian to attempt to influence his vote. And this brings up so many questions to me about the voting process here in the United States, in that how did they know Paul Asadorian voted for X? And more importantly, how did they know that Paul Asadorian voted for X? And now they attempt to target. Now, it may have been a combination of multiple data sources. But the fact that I thought my vote in the United States was anonymous, that I can vote for whoever I want, and no one can ever tie my vote to who I am, is important to me as a citizen. But now
that's a good point.
Along these same lines,
my understanding was that the RNC was using this data to be able to target and market someone that wasn't necessarily their voter because they knew that I didn't vote for their candidate.
What I find interesting is two things, privacy-wise, that I've noticed lately that I need to research more, and maybe the listeners or hosts on the show can shed some light on. The first thing, which isn't as interesting as the second thing, the first thing is there have been 2 different websites that I've authenticated to with my username and password that are services that I use or are forced to use. I'm forced to log into them to do something. And they've taken this extra validation step to ask me questions.
Right.
And they've asked me, from this list, choose a previous address.
Right.
Okay, next question. From this list, choose a car that you've owned. And there may be one other one in there. And I'm like, where are you getting this information? And not only that, the more pertinent question here is, how are you protecting that information?
Right.
You would either have or have access to that information. Sure. Where is it and how is it being protected? And who the hell are you sharing it with?
Right.
That's one. The second one's kind of funny. The air conditioning so we have insider knowledge, 2 units here that we rent.
Because we have 2.
This is F. The studios in the offices in the servers are in G, right? That's why we call it G Unit Studios, because we're literally in G Unit. So G Unit had its HVAC, which was probably as old as I am, fail, and the result was our air conditioning didn't work. The company that services the air conditioners for the facility, I'm sure of their nationality. They speak Spanish primarily. They do also speak English. I have to say, they're very, very nice. They're very good at what they do.
They're very knowledgeable.
As well.
That means they're Mexican, Paul.
No, it does not. I did not want to. They speak Spanish. Now, they speak English to me. And like I said, very good at what they do, and I had to interact with them and make suggestions and ask questions of each other. Right? When they speak to each other, they speak Spanish. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine.
Like how many folks do you know that they go home and they speak their native language to their kids?
But like on Monday, they were in there trying to complete the installation because it had rained on Friday. Right? So like pretty much for the most of the day Monday, they were in my office because the HVAC unit happens to be in my office. Yep. And so for the entire day Monday, I'm working on my computer, and they're speaking Spanish to each other. And when I went to a Google website for like page speed, like Webmaster Tools, Page Speed Insight, it presented me the web page in Spanish. I vaguely remember reading something about how Google listens to what's happening in your environment and adjusts your language automatically. Now, I have been to the Webmaster Tools to run the page speed tool. I forget what they call it, the page speed tool in Google. I've run it a lot lately. And it's always presented me the page in English. And I can never remember the URL. And if it's bookmarked, it's just like a weird thing. And so, so I Google search for it and I click page speed. Legit presented it to me in Spanish. Like to the point where I would open up another browser and go and legit in Spanish.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, is that a coincidence that there just happened to be people working in my office who were speaking Spanish for probably 6 hours out of the day at that point?
No, it's not a coincidence.
That freaked me out.
Yeah.
That freaked me out.
So what do you care more about, Paul? That Google can do that, or that somebody knows how you voted?
I don't know. They're both pretty damn creepy, Jeff. They're both pretty damn creepy. I mean, voter, I think, is more of an issue.
Yep. Me, I'm concerned about how people thought I voted.
You know what? I think you guys missed the mark. I'm concerned about the fact that not only can Google do that, that doesn't surprise me. It's that they can do that and they didn't disclose it to you.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well, but
it could have
maybe they did.
You clicked through this agreement.
Yeah, but I was going to say maybe they did.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
EULA, right? You click through it. Yes.
Okay, Google, safe search off.
Yeah.
Okay, Google, show me pictures of goiters.
Whoa.
Now, I really love the Google technology. In fact, I just bought the new NVIDIA Shield as a home entertainment media device.
That reminds me, do not let me leave here without asking you Cody questions.
Yeah. So this is a really super fast device. It's like $300. Yeah, you could probably build it yourself. I have built multiple entertainment devices myself. This one is for the main viewing area where all kinds of family, immediate family, extended family use it. I wanted something that was just going to run that I didn't have to necessarily maintain myself. Right? Sure. I have those in the house too.
Tell me more.
And so I bought an NVIDIA Shield. It comes with a game controller and a remote. It uses Android. Super fast. So far, I'm totally impressed because I have other technologies in the house. Silicon Dust HD Home Run on an Amazon device. Fire Stick,
Fire
sort
Stick,
of. Yeah, Fire Games. I had the game thing, the Fire TV game thing. The HD Home Run was just terrible, and I was getting complaints from the family. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go buy the fastest device available on the market. So far, it looks like it's solving my issue. It does do the weird thing where it gets my Google credentials. You can pair to it with Bluetooth, complete the setup on your phone. It's all tied to my Google account. Kind of scary, kind of cool in a way because stuff, if I bought it on the Google Play Store, movies and TV, now I can watch it on my TV. That's kind of cool. And I like the device so far. I'm only 24, 48 hours into it.
Yep.
So far, no complaints though. The HD Home Run app that runs on that device doesn't have issues.
Yep. Interesting. So, yeah, we're in the similar point. My media server for iTunes is subpar, and I don't have the money to replace it. I don't have money to go buy a Mac Mini or something like that,
or the new Mac Pro when it comes out later this year.
Heck, I have an old MacBook Pro that has NVIDIA GPU problems that I have to do a third-party device on. Oh, don't even get me started. It's awful. And my Apple TVs are Apple TV Gen 2s.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're a little bit older, but they should still be up to the task of doing what I need to do. And the kids cannot watch stuff from the home shared iTunes library.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. So I stood up Kodi on a Raspberry Pi, Pi B+, so an older version, and I got it working, and it seems to be working okay. And I had some issues because all the stuff in the iTunes library is on a disk, and it's in the library, and it's on disk as M4Vs, and you can go and add that as a thing, and it wouldn't add the movies, so I had 9 of them out of 400. I'm like, WTF. I look at the logs, and it's locked. It's locked. What? No, you shut down the iTunes library that's serving for the Apple TV, and it does it all just fine. My thing is, I don't want a keyboard for a goddamn remote.
Yeah,
I've been trying to find you for 3 days to find out. Ask, what do you use for a remote for Kodi?
I use on the Odroid C2, which is one of Jobs' favorite devices. That's running the latest version of Libre Elec, and I use a keyboard for a remote.
Okay, so I've got Libre Elec's latest version on a Pi with a keyboard.
The Pi is kind of not that this is like home entertainment. This is home entertainment Security Weekly.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi is kind of just okay. Odroid C2 is a little better. Something a little beefier is even better for running.
Now I've got an old Pi, and it seems to work just fine. And it's a little on the slow side, but whatever. It was a test to see if it would actually work.
Yeah. Odroid C2 is... with the older version of Libre Elec was kind of wonky. The newer version's way better. The newer version of Libre Elec with the latest version of Kodi, 17.3, is way better on the Odroid. I've had, knock on wood, zero issues.
If you got some time after the show, let's talk a little bit, because
I can definitely.
I need to fix the fucking problem.
The NVIDIA Shield though is kick-ass. Nice. And in any case, before we leave, I want to talk about EFF Dancing Baby Fair Use.
Oh my gosh.
This is fair use in the reverse, man. So the copyright owner in question is Universal Music Group, right? They issued a takedown notice several years ago to Stephanie Lenz after she posted a video of her then 3-year-old son Holden dancing to the Prince song Let's Go Crazy.
Yep.
Then known as the Dancing Baby. Universal is the copyright owner of Let's Go Crazy. Lenz contested the video's removal, right? Because Universal said you have to take it down. Then they said, oh, no, it's fine. You can put it back up. However, the EFF sued for damages and said, well, you made them take it down, then you had to put it back up.
Yeah, it was a fraudulent claim.
Yeah. That's basically been thrown out of court. So...
Wait, which has been the fraudulent claim has been
so
thrown?
Universal, from what I read in the article, Universal is not held liable. There's no responsibility of the alleged copyright owner, and this is some of the issues I have with the laws here in the U.S. that have to do with copyright, patent, and trademark. It's an issue, but it goes both ways, and I get it. It's the U.S. Anyone can sue anyone for anything. So in other words, even if legitimately I don't have the right to copyright, patent, or trademark, I can still file suit.
Right.
And hold that up.
Yep.
And that's essentially what happened here. Universal filed suit. They had to take the content down, but then they could put it back up. Yep. But there was damages in the course of basically throwing it out. I said, no, you can't. It's a very interesting issue. Right. It happens in copyright, patent, and trademark all the time.
Yeah. So then the person that posted the content, the Dancing Baby video, countersued saying, hey, you told me to take this down, and we were told that we didn't have to take it down, so now you filed a claim fraudulently, and now we're suing you for making me do this thing that was based on fraud.
So
where the fraud? So the Supreme, it actually went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it said no, there's no suit here
on the fraud part.
They ignored the fair use, ignores EFF Dancing Baby fair use case, right?
So I'm still confused. Post video of Dancing Baby with music. Music company says, take this shit down.
Yep.
They take it down. Universal says, court tells Universal says, no, they don't have to take it down. So then the owner of Dancing Baby says, hey, Universal, you told me to take this down, and I'm sorry. It was deemed as, no, I don't have to take this down. You filed a fraudulent DMCA claim. So what part did the Supreme Court throw out? The fact that the person that put the dancing baby up said tried to countersue, or the initial?
The copyright owner is not liable for damages. Based on, yes.
Okay. So basically, they threw out the content owner saying, "Hey, fraudulent DCMCA claim." Sorry.
The lawsuit. So the article says the lawsuit originated as an attempt by EFF to hold a copyright owner accountable for what the organization reviewed as a wanton disregard for user fair use rights. So EFF was saying they were using it in fair use. Copyright owner says no. The person using it for fair use wants to go for damage. That's why I said it's in reverse.
And I wanted to make sure that I understood what the ruling said about the back and forth.
I put it in because it's kind of like along the lines of my trademark talk, like hacking the trademark system. It's a lot of things. It's like hacking the system in those cases where we talk about intellectual property and things of that nature.
I would also argue DMCA also applies to a lot of reverse engineering type of stuff.
Absolutely. Sure.
In that, quote, reverse engineering is illegal. Right. But you start talking about some of the garage door opener manufacturers that have the third-party stuff that works with all the garage door manufacturers that have their own code that are proprietary methods that were reverse engineered. And the court said that no, that they just did some compatibility engineering to improve trade and that type of stuff. So it's not it's not reverse engineering; it's compatibility engineering.
We're running late on time. If I had to pick a story we want to end on, I want to make sure. Really quick, 2 handy yet hidden Chromebook security features. For me, there's only one: a fresh Linux install. On the issue of Chrome versus Firefox, I think they make a really good case. It's my story number 1.
Wow.
I did notice that Firefox did a better job for debugging websites when I was doing that.
Yep.
However, Firefox did crash on me where Chrome very rarely does that. Although, go read the article. There's some really good arguments there.
My two cents on that salvo is I use Chrome for day-to-day. I used to use Firefox. I moved to Chrome because Firefox was hogging everything.
Yep. Well, now I understand Chrome was hogging everything.
And I will use Chrome day-to-day, but I will use Firefox for pen test work.
Yep.
Well, I'm with Larry on that one.
The story I want to highlight, average cost of a breach goes down for the first time ever. They see the global average cost of a data breach last year dropped 11.4% from 2015 to $3.6 million. This reduction is attributed mostly to a strong U.S. dollar, with wins also offset by a 1.8% increase in the size of breaches in 2016. My thing is math. I think we're measuring the wrong things, or more accurately, we're not measuring all of the things that we should be measuring. Mm-hmm. When we measure breaches, I think we should measure the impact of a breach with a different formula. Hard costs, reputational damage, customers lost as a result, maybe some other factors. I don't know. Thoughts from the panel on that?
And I think some of those are very hard to measure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess my first response is, how do you know they're not measuring it according to that? Or what was the basis for the ranking?
What was the basis for cost, Jeff? That was it's an excellent question. When they say a cost for a breach, what does that really mean? Yeah. I guess that's really the underlying question that I have is, how are they measuring cost?
And how
there has to be a formula.
What's the formula for, hey, we never got these customers we could have got before.
Right.
Yes.
Like, like tarot cards or something.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal?
There's like potential customers.
Who sponsored the report or the statistics?
The report,
Is it an insurance company?
Yeah. Speaking of sponsoring the reports, Paul, I know you and I both have different stories about Cisco.
Yep.
IBM
IBM Security was a cybersecurity strategist who presented.
Yep. And one of my stories was Cisco yesterday claimed that they had used machine learning to solve the ability to detect malware using encrypted traffic without man in the middle. Inspecting encrypted traffic without man in the middle, they could detect malware. My comment was, show me.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that can do that, actually.
Not the way they were claiming.
Well, maybe not the way they were claiming, but there's certainly a lot of companies that can do that. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that traffic's encrypted still means we get metadata about that traffic.
Sure.
Did they discover NetFlow? Is that what they discovered?
That was
They did. I think
they used
I
don't
made
know
a
if
lot
they
of money a long time
discovered-
ago.
I don't know if they discovered it, but they certainly defined much of the standards for NetFlow.
I'm a freaking genius, I guess.
Yeah. No, the my thing is, excuse me. If you're impersonating a legitimate service and using a legitimate service that is encrypted, how do you determine the content over encrypted data that to be able to tell whether it's illegitimate or not? Like, let's say you use GitHub as C2, and GitHub is encrypted end-to-end with TLS. Great, you do GitHub TLS, and you have users that do GitHub TLS. And, well, all right, I get that maybe new users are all of a sudden using GitHub TLS. I get that. But their claim is that they can observe the TLS traffic and tell whether all of those new users are doing something bad versus something good.
Joff is jumping out of his seat, right? 'Cause he developed, and Eric is too. Joff developed the algorithms that open source Rita and offensive countermeasures used. It's basically
Beaconing, yep.
So one example is there's 4 ways which you can look at outgoing network traffic, right? There's connection interval, connection time, data size, and the number of packets.
Now, I want to clarify, their claim is not about that. Their claim is about inspecting the encrypted traffic.
They're on crack. Yeah. So when we look at Eric is very familiar with this algorithm. Joff basically wrote it for offensive countermeasures, right? Of those 4 buckets that I talked about, and if you analyze whether it's encrypted or not, the connections between a host on your internal network and a host on your external network, if you look at the connection time, the connection interval, the number of packets, and the data size of those packets, basically what you end up with is like these groupings of dots that represent connections between two hosts. They won't match 100%, but they'll match enough that, like, if you plot it out, will show groupings, and if you correlate those, even just those 4 data points, there's a lot of other stuff I'm leaving out. Just those 4 data points, you can say, hey, that host on your internal network was communicating in a backdoor channel to a host on the internet. It's compromised. Like 95% of the time on average, we're finding that that's a compromised system.
Agreed.
And that's one way to do it. Now, there's lots of vendors that are looking at different aspects of that.
So my understanding of the way Cisco is doing this is that, hey, Larry's machine's got some traffic to GitHub. Yeah, all right. Well, Larry's account, it's Hacks the Matrix at GitHub. Cool, great, no problem. And it's doing HTTPS, and then all of a sudden we see some more traffic or HTTPS to GitHub from Larry. Great. Looks like he just pushed a code update and HTTPS traffic to GitHub. More code update, HTTPS traffic to GitHub. Hey, wait, that's command and control. Like, how do they know? How do they know the difference between?
So another way to do it is,
and their comment is it's not about packet length, content, availability. It's that they're looking at the contents of the encrypted traffic, and that they can tell the difference in the encrypted traffic.
So they're on crack. But anyway, if you can also
that's what I thought. That's why I put the story in. Like,
what you can do though is what Justin was talking about is the Elasticsearch or an Elk stack, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That's better. Not doing what I talked about previously, but looking at Larry talking to GitHub. There's a whole crap load of traffic. Comparing that to the next day, there's a whole crap load of traffic. And then looking at the differences, that's another tactic.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Open source and
we used
commercial
to call
vendors
all
use
this
that.
traffic analysis.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff.
Yep. And Jeff,
now we call it AI and machine learning and big data, Jeff.
And my thing on the Cisco part is that by looking at TLS, and I'm just throwing out TLS traffic, they can tell by looking at TLS traffic. They can tell based on the TLS part, not any of the other frequency analysis and all the stuff, that they can tell based on the TLS stuff that this is bad and this is not.
Hey, I have a stupid question real quick.
No stupid
for
questions.
end-to-end encryption TLS like we're talking about, I mean, there has to be some portion of the packet that's not encrypted, right?
Sure. Correct.
So, there's probably a lot of juicy information there.
Yep.
I've taken 5 to 3. Maybe not all that much.
There is.
Jeff, I want to get you to weigh in on this because we're talking about stuff that's like you wrote a lot of code that does this type of analysis.
Okay, couple. I got multiple comments, but per Jeff's comment, certainly there is.
the way the start TLS process works, the cipher negotiation, the key exchange, that can certainly reveal some key, almost like a signature, if you like, about what the software is doing.
Okay. Now I will ask, and I'll ask a question. What if it's a web browser, just like you use every other time you go to GitHub?
Yeah, well then, and you're right, Larry.
Okay. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, dead on. With respect to what Paul was referring to, there's a couple of different ways that we've looked at it in offensive countermeasures, and one. It all comes down to beacon analysis, right? The big deal is, and what Paul was trying to explain is a k-means clustering algorithm, which I didn't write, by the way, Paul. I wrote some other stuff, but
you wrote the fast Fourier transform algorithm, correct?
Yeah, no, that wasn't me either, actually. but
he put a whole bunch of really good stuff together with his shit.
But either way, the key there is looking for algorithmic behaviors on idle C2 channels. So
that's what I was trying to say. By the way, when Joff says I was trying to explain it, that's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the key is idle, right? Because attack is going to be in your environment, and the channel is going to be idle for a period of time, and there's going to be an algorithmic beaconing behavior that's going to go on for some period of time that's detectable, that is distinctly different from human behavior. Human behavior is sort of pseudo-random in the way, because people click on anything, right? That's pseudo-random. But the algorithmic behavior with beaconing is quite deliberate, and there can be jitter in there, and there can be some deliberate attempts, but it's still an algorithm ultimately. And if you can look for beacons over a time period, then in whichever way you do that, whether you do discrete fast Fourier transform to convert the time domain into a frequency domain, or whether you look some sort of k-means clustering algorithm, either way is going to bring out and highlight that beaconing behavioral response. Now, beyond that, the stuff I actually did write, Paul, was actually some artificial intelligence learning algorithm based on DGAs, which is an entirely different topic. But it's
almost as if, Joff, if you boil it down, it's sort of like we're doing a Turing test on the network traffic.
Yeah, that's right. I think there's a lot of traction in this area too, because it's not just about the network traffic as it pertains to beaconing, whether it be HTTP, whether it be DNS, whether it be UDP, TCP, whatever layer you attack it at. It's also about the behavior of an endpoint as it compares to its peers. With respect in particular to application layer protocols. Like earlier, we were talking about LDAP queries, for example. If you were to baseline peers on a network over time with LDAP traffic, and you would just be able to generate a baseline, let's say over 24 or 48 hours, and then you have one of those stations suddenly have a burst that deviates, 2 standard deviations from the average. All of a sudden, you've got a really distinct indicator of malfeasance, because this LDAP activity is just abnormal, right? And your key is to be able to measure it and to alert on it, to then kick your IR team into response mode.
Yep.
So. Yeah, I mean, and I know Eric and I have never talked directly on this, but we both actually have quite a little bit.
Eric, I know you're big in this space. You're just going to have to come back on the show, though, because we're running really short on time.
Again, I will just reiterate, I think Cisco's claim is that by viewing encrypted traffic in a vacuum, without all of this other context, they're able to identify bad traffic.
I want to thank everyone for listening and watching Paul Security Weekly. Kind of a last final plug. We did mention the Turing test. Go watch the Imitation Game. Yeah. I mean, go read about it, certainly. But
Bletchley Park, England, man.
Like, if you don't know what the Turing test is, or Alan Turing,
oh my God, what a life!
Definitely read up on it on the web and watch the movie. One of the
he saved tens of millions of lives. Alan Turing.
As far as like movies that involve technology, it's in the top 3, if not one of the best ones.
Absolutely
it's
fantastic.
Family members, I think I described this on a previous show. They're like, "Oh, we watched this movie. It's about this guy that was like built some of the first computers and like did the code. I'm like, Alan Turing. They're like, yeah. How did you know that? I'm like,
that guy.
Alan Turing. Like, you got to know. You got to understand.
I will argue
but
this is also a great movie for the kids to watch.
Absolutely.
What Corinne watched this. She stayed up with late one night last year. She was 8, and the most awkward part of this whole thing was that we had to explain homosexuality to her.
Yeah, and it's an atrocity.
What
happened?
Which was
Yeah.
all right. Yeah,
The top British cryptanalyst said World War II would have gone on until 1948 in the European theater had Alan Turing and Bletchley Park in England not been there. And that's nerds did that. Geeks did that.
Yeah.
3 years off a world war in the European theater, nerds did that.
Yeah.
And if you want to take that even further, talking about some of the AI stuff, watch the movie Her.
Yes.
Yep.
And then what was the next one?
Hidden Figures.
No.
And Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Watch that first.
Yes.
And then watch Her.
Okay.
Right. Hidden Figures, also awesome nerd movie to watch. That was all the Facebook comments I've ever seen on the Hidden Figures. People are like, "Wow, like that was really good."
I haven't watched
Hidden Figures.
but
very good movie.
But you have to do it in that specific order: Ex Machina, and then Her.
And Imitation Game and Hidden Figures. That's your homework for this episode of Paul Security Weekly. Make sure you watch all of those movies. Thank you for listening and watching to this show. We'll see everyone next time. Larry, take us out.
I'm sorry. We cannot complete the command as asked. Over and out.